Love it, Suzanne.
And actually, yeah, my name is Amy, believe it or not. Suzanne is a woman who, well, we share a house, and then our sister-in-law is Wendy. And so we have this little great little place down in Long Beach that is full of cats and dogs and everything. But I've never had a dog this young before. So it's kind of,
Puppies is a whole new game, guys.
my gosh, youngest dog I've ever had was like 10 months old. And that's different because usually we're more inclined to get like, let's give me the ragtag junkyard dogs, let alone these little beautiful beasts. So
Yeah.
okay.
Puppies are different, and puppies are constantly changing. So we've got, depending on the breed and when you get them and who the parents are, determines a lot. So as an expert in puppies, I want to just jump in. Puppies and adolescent dogs, we're going to jump into any kind of issue that you're currently having with your dog. We're going to be able to assist you. So you get to ask live Q&A afterwards. I'm going to wait just a few more minutes to see if Julie jumps in. Julie's supposed to be here to help me out, but drop in the chat where you're from, because it's a little different in every single city. So I specialize in working with dogs that are coming specifically to be in the city. So what that means is, back in the day, when you had a puppy, you would have these massive yards and your dog got to go out and wander around in the neighborhood. And it's a little different right now, specifically like if you're living in the city. I lived in, so San Diego might be a little different. I lived right in downtown Long Beach, where you had a high-rise building. You didn't have a yard. You lived, and specifically in the high-rise buildings, you'd have these, you had to go down an elevator. You had to go right past other people that lived right next to you. So it was always a little different. So what your goals are is going to determine what you need to expose and socialize your dog to, right? So vision of what your goal was when you first got your dog, you're like, oh my gosh, I got my puppy and I dream of doing all these things. That dream, in order for it to become a reality, there's a lot of steps. So when I first got Bentley, my puppy that you'll see a lot of videos of, I was like, he needs to be accessible to everything that I do, which is traveling. I travel a lot with dog training. I travel a lot and I speak to other dog trainers. Specifically, I work with other dog trainers. And that means I'm going to San Diego. I'm also going to fly over to North Carolina. I'm flying into New York, and he need to be able to do all those things. If you live in a high-rise building, got a whole nother set of things that your dog has to be exposed to. Some people, when I say, what are your goals? They're like, backyard, just be able to go backyard, front yard, deal with the kids and walk in the neighborhood. And then there's some people that say, I want to be able to go camping with my dog. I want to be able to take my dog everywhere and anywhere. Mm-hmm. All of those goals have to be, you have to acknowledge them before you go into training. So let me go ahead and ask you in the chat, when you first thought about getting a dog, this specific dog that we're going to talk about today, what was that goal? Drop it in the chat. What was your initial goal? Or what is your goal? We have a couple of people that haven't gotten their dog yet. What was your first goal? So road trips, hikes, a beach partner, a road trip kind of dog has to be okay in the car, has to be okay with meeting new people. They don't have to be friendly to new people, but they have to be okay, neutral about seeing someone that's brand new and not overreacting. So socialized. So when I hear beach partner, I'm assuming being okay around water and sand. Socialize friendly plane travel. Nicole, unmute yourself. When you say plane travel, what does that look like? What does that?
Hi there.
Hey,
Can you
Nicole.
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So my husband and I have a small 6-seater airplane that we travel all around in. And we are on a couple Facebook pages that talk to other pilots that travel with their dogs as well. So that is one goal that we would like to have, is just get used to the airplane and the noises, and
Yeah.
just be able to travel with us.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
So the sound and the feel of what an airplane is going to be like is all going to be in the early parts of training. So each of us has our own agenda. As a human, we have our own agenda of what we want to do with our dog, but we have to keep that in mind when it comes to training a pup. So love that, Nicole. Yeah, my dog flies too. And I actually, there's a systematic way of training a dog that's going to be on a plane. So when I work with breeders, I'm like, this dog is going to be flying pretty soon by 8 weeks old. So here are the things that we need to do, right? The sound of a plane, the sound of an airport, the sight of luggage and people, the sight, right? The smell, and then that whole moving thing that's going to go on. Those are all small little steps that it takes to expose. I mean, gosh, this is not just for dogs, guys. This is for anybody. This is for children as well. We all have to realize like these are big parts of a dog's life that we have to be mindful of. So let me just read through some of these. Family dog that is able to go places with us. So going places, when I think of family, I think of children that play soccer. So if I have a herding dog like mine, being able to see a soccer game and go, oh, that's not the ball that I chase. Family dog means a dog that can pretty much chill out at your feet or on a blanket while all these things are going on. Children running, soccer balls flying, right?
Mm.
So, gosh, walking without pulling. I hear you, Kareen. Yes, most definitely. And camping, I love that because I do a lot of camping with my dogs. So, socialize. I love this. Perfect. Hiking. So typical, I mean, to be honest, if you go, okay, I'm going to go with the goal of having a dog that goes everywhere and anywhere, you're going to pretty much cover it all, right? You're going to cover anything that you can possibly think of. Is if a dog can be ready to go around people in the city in a high-rise building and be able to be ready to go on a plane, you pretty much got a dog that's besides having 3 tasks, almost a dog that can go and work as a service animal. So my specialty is working with service animal prep dogs. But what that means is a dog that has public access that can go everywhere, but also has 3 tasks. And if you're not looking for a service animal, you're looking for a dog that can go everywhere and anywhere with you, which means is the dog can pretty much take on new things and not overreact. Not overreact, which is what a lot of puppies do, right? Puppy is going to be like, oh my God, it's something new. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I accept that as when your dog is young, they're going to try things new. But as they get older, they're going to go, yeah, I haven't done that before. I am out of here. I'm going to overreact, or I don't know about these things. So as we go through, please drop in or unmute yourself and go, hey, yo, and then just ask your questions straight out. So when I say on 3 tasks on service animals, yes, with the service animal, when we authorize a dog, when we give them access, when we test a service animal that's going through in the United States, because it's always different in different places, it's 3 tasks. So typically we'll ask the physician, hey, is this dog or is this client, is this person suitable to have a dog that can do a task that would assist, not fully do it for them, because that would be crazy. Can they assist in whatever it is that they need? And the way that I write the email, it's just like most of our doctors will say, yes, they can assist as long as it's not the only way to signal to Laura, hey, you've got bananas in the background. Like, as long as it's not the only thing. Right. And then from there, we go over, I'll usually give them, hey, Kate, three tasks. So currently I have a puppy that's doing diabetic alert. So diabetic alert is that they have also a mechanical thing that will tell the client, she's 15 years old, that she's got diabetes, right? Your blood sugar level is way too high. There's a tool that she uses as well, but on top of it, she's got a dog that stays with her and lets her know. Dog has to be first, can this person, and then I give them the 3 tasks, and it looks like this. 3 tasks that I can kind of, that we can do possibly with this dog is, first time is when the blood sugar level is too low, the dog is going to come up to her and bark 3 times. And then she ignores it. Second alert is going to be, she comes over and does a nose punch to the thigh. It's typical for diabetic alert, is we let them know, hey, so the pup will do a nose punch, which is basically a nose punch right over to the thigh. And the third time that they do is they actually get with 2 paws down and they jump on your legs. They basically jump on you. So we do this with a lot of PTSD. We do that. So anything that a client is struggling with, an assistant dog is always a great way to assist you, especially because our dogs are living longer, 10, 15 years. They're living a long time. So for me, I'm almost 50 and I'm like, over the next 15 years, yeah, I'm probably going to go through a lot of things. So there's lots of different ways to incorporate your dog into your daily life, specifically if you have a reason for getting a dog. Okay. So that's how service animals are in the United States. We can train our own service animals. Public access, that's another whole thing, right? So public access with puppies, this is where I'm going to be able to give you guys a lot of good information, because you're going to go, even if I don't have 3 tasks, at least my dog can go everywhere and anywhere that a dog is allowed to be. And that comes with exposing and socializing your dog properly. So I've got let me go ahead and present this. Can you guys see the screen? All right. Can you see the full screen? So give me yes. Okay, cool. All right. So Julie should jump in a little bit. If not, that's okay. So because this is live, it is recorded. If you need to jump off, go for it. But if you would love to ask questions, just unmute yourself and go, hey, yo, I got a question, because I can't see everybody on the screen when I do a little live thing like this. So again, we work with service animals here, but we also work with companion dogs, therapy, emotional support animals. And when it comes to sport dogs, we do work with sport dogs, as long as they're not the competitive, crazy sport people. We work with the, fun sport dog people. And then just any kind of time you want, what, I want a dog that is a really good buddy for me. We can help you. And so when I say, what is your goal? It all matters. When you first get your dog, whether you have your dog now or you're waiting to get your dog, it all matters, because what you do from this point now till the time your dog is trained matters. If your goal is to have a hunting dog, exposure to birds, exposure to animals, just exposure to all those things is all going to matter. All right. So I'm going to go over puppy essentials, my top 3 puppy needs, what shapes behavior. I'm going to pretty much go to everything that you need to set your puppy up for success. And then from that point, asking some specific questions to your life, to your environment. So like I said, I have an international group of people that I work with. So sometimes they're like, yo, 90% of the things around me are cows. So that is some information I need to know in order to be able to help you. So please be specific. So essentials, if you have not gotten your puppy yet, there's some just basic essentials that we need. First of all, a safe space. What that looks like is wherever you want to create your dog's little room, right? When we all think of having children, we're like, yeah, I'm going to put my dog over here. I'm going to show you in just a few seconds. I've got a video of a dog that I'm working with, the little board and trained puppy, Bandit. Your safe space for your dog is where you want to create their bedroom. Okay. Interactive feeders and water bowls. I don't believe in feeding dogs out of a normal food bowl. And I'm going to tell you a little bit why. Management tools like X pens, puppy gates. Who here has had children at some point, whether they're your own or, children that you've been able to watch from 0 to 3 years old? Raise your hand. There we go. Perfect. Who would leave a 6-month-old that's just learning to crawl near a power outlet or a wire? We just don't do that, right? We know. We're like, yeah, at some point that little child is going to stick their finger in that little power outlet. So management tools prevents a lot of unwanted behaviors, and I'll go over that. Now, treats and puppy food, just like children and just like us, we all have sensitive systems. So finding the right food, that's always a big thing about having a dog. Potty station, enzyme cleaner. You're going to need an enzyme cleaner when you have a dog. Vet check, grooming supplies, toys and chews. Not all toys are alike. So I'll go over toys and like what kinds of toys. You've got chew toys because puppies are teething. Pretty much by the time you guys get your puppy at 8 weeks old, they're teething, which is why they put everything in their mouth. And then harness, collars, and leashes. So I'm going to put into my top 3 things that puppies need. And then I want to ask you guys where you're at. So safety, routine, and trust. These are the top 3 things that dogs need, that puppies, when you first get them, this is what they need. So safety, what that means is they need to have a safe place in order for them to stop barking, stop jumping, they have to feel safe. Or guess what, guys? They won't do anything. They will not address you. They won't listen to you. They can't even cope with the world if they don't feel safe. And then establishing a routine, that's right from the moment you bring a dog home, there needs to be a systematic routine. You need to be able to tell the puppy, I'm predicting what you're going to do next because I'm always on that same routine. When your dog comes out of the crate and goes directly to the potty station, even if you have to carry them, you're creating a routine. All of us that have grown up anywhere that we've grown up, there's been some kind of routine that you've been exposed to, right? So the routine needs to be very, very consistent, typically meaning limited space. Oh my God, if you give your puppy access to your mansion, your home, especially if they just came from a breeder or even a rescue, they came from this small, tiny place, and all of a sudden you give them your home, like the whole living room. Do you know how hard it is to reverse that and say, oh, by the way, all this beautiful gold stuff that's really cool, you don't get access to. Have fun in this little space. It's really hard to reverse that. So limiting your puppy's space at the beginning is a big, huge plus in training. And then rewarding the behavior that you like. Anytime your puppy comes over and you come over to them and they sit, oh my God, you should be like, oh my, yes, I love this. And give them some kind of reward, whatever it is that they want, whether it's petting, whether it's their food, it's reward what you love. And then understanding your puppy. So drop in the chat, what does your puppy do when they need to go to the bathroom? Because they're all a little different. Right. So we have so puppy I have with me right now typically starts sniffing like nothing, like there's steak on the ground, totally starts sniffing. And I'm like, oh, he needs to go potty. So understanding body language, scratching the door. So Chris, your dog must be a little bit older for him to already know where he gets access to the potty station. Sniffing, good. Circles. Yes, Corrine. Totally, puppies go into circles and sniff, right? They're trying to figure out, is this a safe place to go potty? Scratching at the door is actually the dog's signal for telling you, hey, you human, open the freaking door. So that's the end goal. I love that they're already doing that. So puppies come with specific signals, barks and scratches at the door. Thank you, Laura. Amazing. So your dog already knows where the bathroom is. It's our job to say, wonderful, great job. Let me open the door. Let me give you access to the door that takes you to the potty station, right? So that the barking and scratching at the door, and those are all signals that say, I know where the puppy's going. I know where it's at. Give me access. So when we talk about ringing the bell to tell you, hey, I need to go potty, if your dog's scratching at the door, they can definitely ring a bell. Those are all your puppy's signals that say, I've got to go potty. So that means you've done a really, really good job. Beautiful. So learning your dog's language is going to be the very first few days. You're learning, how does your puppy communicate with you? What have they learned so far? Scratching at the door is your dog's way of saying, I have to go pee. They've already learned that in the whatever time. So if that took 3 days, if that took 2 days, whatever time that took, that's the signal they're telling you. And here's the thing, guys. I get a lot of puppies that I work with where the puppy's training the human. The human's behind, right? A lot of times the human is like following up, and I'm like, all right, girl, all right, pup, I got you. I'm gonna let your owner know, let your pet parent know that these are all your signals. So whatever your puppy is signaling to you, that I need to go to the bathroom, or I want this, I want that, just be mindful. That's your puppy's way of communicating. That's all that they learned so far. The third thing is building trust and connection. So trust. and this is where I get a lot of, this is typically where I get a lot of issues. So here's a question that I got just in the last 24 hours. Every time I go over to put my dog in a harness, my dog runs away from me. Does that dog trust that pet parent? No. There's the breakdown. Coming down to your dog's level, if you come all the way down, remember they just been pulled away from the only family that they know. If you can't sit down with your puppy and they come over to you, do they trust you? No, they do not trust you yet. So some of the key things at the very, very beginning is you've got to build trust. You've got to create a safe space. You got to establish a routine, but you've got to build trust. You can't start a training plan without trust. You can't expect your dog to learn how to sit, go to the bathroom, or anything until there's trust. Trust is built on a few things. It's being patient, having, coming down to your pup's level. I'll typically, when I'm working with a client privately, I'll say the first thing we're going to do is hand feed. Even just earlier today, someone said, hey, I keep coming over to my dog and the dog runs away, right? So hand feed. Your hand needs to mean to your dog, I'm safe. Come get some food from me. So hand feeding is always the very, very first step. When your puppy sees your hand, they are to come towards you, not run away. Now, dogs will run away from you if the rescue, the breeder, wherever they were just at, if somebody has snatched them to bring them towards them. If someone took something from them. I just had someone contact me, a breeder. She said, I think what's going on is that I keep, someone is grabbing the puppy to bring them to the surface. And that grab, they grab the back of the neck and they bring the dog over, is scared the puppy. Now the puppy's forever scared, right? Now we can reverse all these things, guys, especially in the early stages. But does anyone have a puppy that they're currently have right now and they're noticed that their puppy is a little scared? Scared would be a curved body, avoidance. Doesn't look like it. Okay, cool. Most puppies don't come to you all confident and good. They come kind of hesitant with humans. There's not a lot of breeders. There's not a lot of rescues that get a chance to work, with the dog hands-on, right? They usually are kind of standoffish, especially if there's a litter of a lot of pups. So the dogs are around other dogs. They trust other dogs, but not necessarily people. All right. So there's only two ways that dogs learn. It's either they feel safe or it's dangerous, and then they go react from there, or something worked or didn't work. So when I say those two things, there's only two exact ways that dogs learn. What are you hearing me say? So let me see who is here. Drop in your chat. Jen, I'm going to pick on you. Jen, unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hey, so when I say dogs they learn in two different ways. They either go, wow, that was safe, or, ooh, that was dangerous. Or the second way, oh, that worked or didn't work. What are you hearing me say?
I'm hearing you say safe, meaning they did something right and you gave them a treat. Dangerous means they did something wrong and they were hit or punished in some way.
Okay, good.
And then works versus doesn't work, whether they received a treat or not, or reinforcement, positive reinforcement.
Okay, good. Thank you. So safe or dangerous, when a puppy comes to your home, if a 5-year-old is running through with their drum, a puppy might backpedal into a corner because the noise feels dangerous, right? The noise alone or the presence of a young child feels scary. So then what you see from the body language of the dog is the dog is backing up, the dog's ears are down, everything, the mouth is closed, the puppy is saying, I'm not quite sure what's going on. It's a dangerous situation. Puppies under 12 weeks old are going to determine, is this safe or dangerous? They're investigating that whole thing. So every new thing in a dog's life when they're young, they're making decisions. So what I have here, like I'll have a couple board and trained puppies, and a puppy will come over and I'll put a disc down or a cookie sheet, aluminum cookie sheet, something brand new that the dog hasn't seen before. And they back up, they circle, then they start sniffing. And then if I toss a couple treats on the cookie sheet, they might step on it. And then they go, all right, cool, safe. Now, if that same cookie sheet had, for whatever reason, moved in any kind of way, the dog would back up and go, oh, that's so scary. And that's dangerous. Now, some resilient puppies would go investigate again. But every single time, whether it's meeting someone with gray hair, meeting someone with a cane, meeting a young adolescent boy with bangs, like seriously, the puppies are evaluating every single thing that's going on in the world. All they're doing is going safe, dangerous, safe, dangerous, safe, dangerous. It's our job as pet parents to keep everything in that puppy's life safe. That's why we go slow. That's why we stop people from coming over and go, hold on, guys. He's a young pup. Let's take things slow. Come down on the floor and just sit there and let the dog come up to you. What you don't do is bombard the puppy the first 3 days that you get a dog and overwhelm. Okay. Now, what works and doesn't work, what that means is dogs are going to try things. So what that looks like is I had a puppy, a King Charles Cavalier with a poodle, so it's called a Cavapoo, got in a crate. And what she did overnight, Squink, her name was Squink, is she pressed the button of the crate door. She did it over and over. And I wasn't here because I was already asleep. But in the middle of the night, she pressed the button. And through several repetitions, she hit the button just right, and the crate door opened. And what did she learn? She learned this whole world, which was my living room, she got access to once she got out of the crate. So what she learned was that by pushing this button, eventually the world opened up. So what that looks like to you guys is that when a dog jumps on you and they put 2 paws on your knees or on your shins, and they're wanting attention, and you so much as look at your dog, they go, ooh, that worked. So all I have to do, this is the puppy talking, all I have to do is jump up on this pet parent, my pet parent's legs, and they're going to look at me. Amazing. What comes next? Now they're going to pick me up. Now they're going to pet me and love me. Amazing. Works. So when it comes to your puppy being young and we're going into the form of training them, the puppy is figuring out what works and doesn't work. So here I have X pen set up. Each puppy has their own little room. So when a dog jumps up on the X pen or even barks at me, I ignore that because I'm going to tell the puppy, hey, that does not work for me. Making noise and jumping on an X pen, that doesn't work for me. But what does work is when you're quiet and you're sitting down. So that being said, that's the two basic ways that dogs learn. What they don't do is they don't problem solve. They also aren't manipulative like children are, right? They can't think of, I'm going to get back to Rachel. I'm going to get back to her. Yes, last time I came in the room, she didn't give me a treat. That's not what pups do. They don't go out of their way to make things difficult for you. They're just figuring out what works and doesn't work. All right. Is that clear? So drop it in the chat. Is that pretty clear? Yeah, cool. All right. So understanding the developmental stages is going to give you pretty much everything you need to know about what your dog is going through. So these are the basic stages that a dog goes through. So when we think of like children, we think of like, okay, they're in the womb, they're, developing, and then they go through and then they're, all of those things. Same with puppies. So you've got your prenatal, you've got your neonatal, your transitional. So I'm going to go over the basic ones that we want to learn from right here. So transitional is when your puppy is with a breeder or rescue before you're allowed to actually bring your dog home. So typically at 8 weeks old, most people in the United States can get a dog at 8 weeks old. Now, in each country, it's a little different. So in Panama, 4 weeks. In the US, it's 8 weeks. At 8 weeks old, your puppy has gone through 3 different stages. Transitional is the stage that if anyone has done anything to your pup in any way, that it's going to imprint on your dog. And you're going to come with that baggage. So don't think just because you get a puppy at 8 weeks, they've got a clean slate. No, there's always something. But in the stage between 8 weeks old and 12 to 14 weeks old, maybe sometimes up to 16, you can make a difference as a pet parent. So transitional means that if the breeder grabbed your dog by the scruff and pulled them over and, did whatever they need to do, and the dog was scared of that little interchanging thing, the dog was scared of that. And now for, at that moment, every time they go over and reach and the dog runs away, those are things that happen in the transitional stage that you really don't even know about. Most rescues, most breeders are not going to give you that backstory, which is why I work with breeders and why I work with rescues. It's like, that is such a big impact. Now, what the mother and father, so when I ask, okay, what are the parents like? What are some of the things that you experience? That's called the genetic, right? And epigenetics, whether your dog is athletic, big, small, medium, shedding, non-shedding, that's all the genetics of that dog. So I've worked with several different dogs that I've go, okay, what's going on? They only had one puppy that was left alive. The rest are all passed away in a birth. Those all make a big difference. So as much information as you can get when you're getting your puppy means a lot. But now that you have your dog, you've got what you got, right? So that's when you go into the socialization stage. By the time you get your puppy's about 8 weeks, and we're talking about the 12 to 16 week stage. That's the socialization stage. That is the most important stage of a puppy's life. This develops what kind of dog you're going to have. If you have a dog that barks every time they see another dog or a bird or a new person that walks in the room, that's this stage right here. They've either been underdeveloped or they met too many people that were super exciting or met too many dogs, right? Socialization stage, 8 to 16, say 12 to 16 weeks. That's the stage that that puppies are developing who they are and how to communicate and all of that. Now, the juvenile and adolescent stage is when your puppy is about 12 weeks into the hormonal stage. And those of you that have had kids, when your children go into that 12, 13, and then 16-year-old stage, you know, when you go, oh my God, why did I become a human parent? Right? That stage, juvenile, adolescent, is when things go kind of crazy, but know that they're very, very short term in the dog. They might all of a sudden not follow you or not listen to you, right? The adolescent dog is not going to listen to you. You're like, oh my God, I tried to raise this dog to be a service animal, and now he's not even listening to my short recall. It's all the hormones. It's all the, oh my God, there's a female dog that's in heat down the street. I can smell that. So that's that stage. Just know that it's very short, and you're going to want to bring the management back in. After adolescent, we go into the adult dog, which is after social maturity and then beyond, pretty much up to about 7 years old. And then we can go into what we call seniors. So the adult dog is the dog that pretty much you say, hey, go to your bed. And they go, sure, mom, no problem. Right? So juvenile and adolescent is a very hard stage for a lot of pet parents, especially when they've really worked hard in the puppy stages. But everything that you do with your puppy at that age sticks. It just sometimes goes a little sideways during that stage. The other stage is the juvenile and adolescent. All right. Again, if you have any questions, just jump in. All right. So everyone's safe space is going to be a little different. So when I say safe space, you've got to let your puppy know this is your spot, dude. So in here, I have exactly what I'm using in my little space, my safe space with Bandit. Now, he can run freely and do whatever it is that he wants in his safe space. This puppy is only 10 and a half weeks old. He's a golden doodle. He's already got a lot of space for a dog this age. An X pen surrounded by a dog bed, his water station, right? So his safe space is, these are all the things that you can touch, you can bite, you can chew. They're all right there for you, buddy. What I'm not going to do is give him access to the rest of my house. So safe space means, where do you want in the long run, where do you want your dog to end up? So in this space, he has a dog, something to chew on. He's got his food. He actually has a dog bed, but if he was pottying on it, I definitely wouldn't put a dog bed in there, right? And the space gets to grow every single week. Every week, if your goal is for your dog to be right next to you while you're watching TV on the couch, or while you're on a Zoom meeting, your dog sits right next to you, it's after they've understand where they can and can't go potty. All right. So I'm going to go over your schedule and routine, which I do have a template for each of you guys. You guys can make your own routine and schedule based on your own pup. It's broken up into 5 parts. So when I work with puppies in my board and train program, I'm mostly looking at, what does the pet parent need? I'm not figuring out my needs. I'm figuring out, what do they exactly need? So even though I love dogs of all ages and all breeds and all sizes, I know that it's my job to make sure that the pet parent's set up for success. So here's the biggest tip I can give you. Stick to the routine. Stick to the routine, guys. If you've gone 3 days on your routine and all of a sudden you're like, oh, but he's so cute, I want him to sit next to me on the couch. What you're doing is you're opening up the dog's world, and the puppy goes, oh my God, I had no idea all this gold was out here. Why in the world would I want to go back into that little small space that you put me in? All you're doing is causing frustration. It's no different than having children and you go, hey, welcome to the master bedroom guy, child. And then it's going, oh, but here's your little room, right? Once they get a little taste of the palace, it's really hard to bring them back into the smaller room. So stick to the routine. All right. So the routine is pretty much composed of 5 different things, and they're really easy to understand. I'm going to break it down one by one. It goes into pottying routine, your physical exercise routine, which is physical, right? The movement of the dog. Then you've got your mental, where the dog is actually thinking. And this is where the feeding comes along. And then you go back to potty and then alone time. Because listen, guys, even though we're all on Zoom and we're all on all of this online stuff, eventually you've got to leave your dog alone. And that is not something a puppy comes equipped with. When they're leaving a rescue or breeder, they're typically leaving a place where they've had other puppies with them. They've had their mom. They've had all these things. What they're not used to is being totally left alone. So it's something that you have to train. So let's go over each of these one by one. So a potty training routine typically takes 10 or 15 minutes. You're going to want to bring your puppy to the exact same spot every single time. So from wherever they're at, the crate or the X pen, you're going to leash them and bring them to the spot. Now, a spot that you can use for potty training can be anywhere. I live in Sunset, 4-story high-rise buildings. I've got a deck. I don't have a backyard. So I just got a little potty station. But you can use a laundry room. You can use a balcony. You can use an area of the X pen if you need to, whatever your life really looks like. You've got to create that potty station. It can be made of fake grass, real grass. Don't use potty pads, but use something that's a little bit more concrete, like here, go potty here. All right. The bigger the puppy, the bigger the space, right? So in this setup right here that you see, oh gosh, fast forward that. Okay. So this setup right here that you see, can you guys see that? This is one of my clients' house. And he's like, hey, yo, I'm not going to be back every 30 minutes to take my potty out. I need a good 3 hours. So the puppy needs to be trained to go to the bathroom at a specific spot every single time, even if so it all depends on how long you're going to be gone. So the potty station in your dog's safe space, like this setup right here, is going to be mandatory. What you don't do is not leave a bathroom spot in your dog's spot if you plan to be gone for longer than the dog can hold their bladder. So balcony, backyard, whatever that looks like, is because you have access to your puppy. You're going to be home. You can take them out. You don't have the ability to be home, the first few weeks, then you're creating that potty station in their safe space. All right. So it literally can be anywhere, but you've got to determine what that is. Here are the basic tools. What you will need. You need a potty spot saying, this is where you go to the bathroom. What you don't want to do is open up the entire backyard, because if you've got children, it's just hard to keep up. So cleaning up poop and all of those things, it's easier if you bring them over to a specific spot. Dogs do well with specifics. So a potty station, you also want a way to reinforce the dog that this is, yes, you did it. Amazing. Fantastic. So some kind of jar or something that's got a reinforcement. That means food of some kind or a toy. Now, quickly in 2-3 days, You're switching from food, from toy to just like petting, or in my case, this little bandit that I've got here that's a little over 10 weeks. All I have to say is good boy. And he's like, yes, I did it. And he comes over and he gets his loving. Trash can. Guys, puppies sometimes eat poop. How do we stop that? Is we don't give them access to their poop, because there's some dogs that once they've eaten poop, they love poop and it's so hard to reverse. So pick up poop right away. That being said, trash can, poop bags, an enzyme cleaner, where the puppies kind of, maybe they missed the potty station. You're going to want to clean that up. And I'm going to show you in just a second in this video. And then wipes. Several times a puppy goes to the bathroom and they accidentally step in their poop or potty. And you don't want to track that in your home, because remember when the puppies start sniffing, what they're sniffing is for the spot where they go to the bathroom. So when that's tracked in the home, it typically means that that's their place that they can go. All right. Oops. Let me go back. Let me finish this video. All right. So wherever your potty station is, you want your dog to feel comfortable going. So here we have a little trash can. You guys can get this on Amazon. This is what a little setup look like. It's just a container with food, an enzyme cleaner, a toy, poop bags. I always put a roll of paper towels when I'm working with a client. I set this up. If your pup misses their spot, there's the enzyme cleaner. You typically will spray it, leave it there for 10 or 15 minutes. If they even go to the station and go potty, reward them. Guys, this is like the easy part. This is the part that you want to reinforce. You need to bring your puppy over there. So typically with my young pups, I just carry them to the potty station. Put your water bowl right near the door that gives them access to their potty station. Set your timer. So many pet parents forget. Oh gosh, I forgot. I didn't take them out. I forgot. Set your timer on your phone. Have an alarm that says every 30 minutes. Most puppies that are under 10 pounds have to go out every 15 minutes. Their bladder is not big enough. Put your leash right by your pup's crate. So it's crate, potty. That's the routine you want to establish, is that every time they get done napping, they go to their potty station, wherever it is. This is the fastest way to potty train your dog, is to set it up as a routine. Next is socialization and exposure. So most pups, if you look at the rescue or the breeders, most of them have not been exposed to grass, wet grass, real grass, sand, dirt, stainless steel, wood. Most dogs have not been exposed to that by the time you bring your puppy home, which means that is something that we get to do. To do that, we're patient. Don't set your dog on top of an environment, a surface that they've never been exposed to. Create the opportunity. From 8 to 12 weeks old, you're creating possibilities that they might have in the future. So this puppy is a Boston, little Bostie that we had at 8 weeks old. And we just created this in the kitchen right here. So aluminum cookie pans, those are just like scales that you get in the vet. If you work out, have dumbbells in their area. Let them go explore them at their own pace. So we call this like an obstacle course. You've got to create that right away, right from the beginning. All right. So those of you that dropped in the chat earlier and said, yeah, I want a dog that goes everywhere and anywhere, welcome to your socialization checklist. There's nearly over 100 items in all different categories that your puppy needs to be exposed to by the time that 12-week period is over. By the time the developmental stage, the socialization stage is over. So when it comes to sounds, every single day that your dog is eating, you pop up YouTube and you play different sounds. Even though some of us are still on lockdown, there's lots of different ways to expose and socialize our dog to things that we might think about in our future. Snowboarding, right? Snowboarding. You can go over and you can pop a movie in. The sound of a skateboard, the sound of dogs barking, all on YouTube, guys. Low volume at first. Every 2 minutes, when the dog has a neutral response, so they're just like, I don't care. My food is here. Neutral. You get to put the volume up just a little bit louder. What you don't do is go into overwhelm. So being left alone, that is something you actually have to expose your dog to. So lots of different sounds depending on where you live. So I kind of live near Long Beach, and what I get here in Huntington. So I've got the crazy fireworks going off, and I've got also the Grand Prix. Crazy noises that I've got to expose the dogs in my area to pretty quickly. If you live in the UK and they've got gun dog stuff, you're talking about gunshots around your puppy. If you've got children that cry, that are young, crying, screaming, running children, you've got to expose them to that. Whatever the experience is that's going to be a part of your puppy's life, you guys got to be creative. You got to expose them to that. If you've got a child, you're thinking, okay, the next 5 years, I've got young kids coming over. I've got the smell of football equipment or soccer equipment. I've got the sound of dropping off equipment, whatever that looks like, barbecues, surfaces, places that you might want to go to. So if you're going to be going hiking and your puppy's not vaccinated, you get to carry them. You get to put them in a wagon. You get to go in your car on a car ride. There's lots of different ways to socialize and expose your dog, even when they're not vaccinated. They don't have to touch the surface, and they specifically don't have to actually meet that other dog or meet those people. They just have to be at a distance where they can go, oh, I've seen that before. Cool. Last time I saw it was really safe. So again, if you have any questions, I want you to jump in here. So here's your socialization checklist. I will give you an ebook that's going to kind of give you an entire checklist, but it's basically 8 to 12 weeks. So my board and trained puppies, they go out every day and they experience 2 live things. And then I have a whole bunch. I get through over 100 things in a 4-week period if I get the puppy right at 8 weeks. So any questions on socialization? A question I got last week is how. And first, typically you're really patient. That means that you're not creating, you're not overwhelming the puppy. So if you're exposing them to, let's say, your bag of hockey equipment or snowboarding equipment, you're going to place the bag down at about 6 to 10 feet in the puppy's area. Now, a puppy that's pretty resilient is going to go over and sniff the bag. They're going to circle it. And then they're going to go, no big deal. And then you unzip it the next time and maybe pull one of the hockey sticks out, or snowboarding, you kind of put it out at an angle. Dog will do the same thing, and they'll kind of look at a distance, and you absorb this information. Now, if your puppy takes a sniff or looks around and backs up and crouches down, your dog is scared. Dog is afraid. So now you need to take that next step, which is, how do I give this puppy a positive or neutral response to this thing? How do I do that? And what that looks like. If your dog trusts you, you're going to sit down on the floor right next to that object. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to answer your question, Laura. You're going to do this. You're going to sit down next to the object, and you might use a reinforcement like food or play. So Laura, to answer your question, let's say I'm trying to expose a puppy to a pool. I've got a pool and I want my dog to love going swimming for whatever reason. I'm going to take my dog out to the pool area, and I'm going to play something that the dog absolutely loves to play, whether it's fetch, or if it's tug on a toy, or I'm going to do the feeding out there. I'm going to go, what do you love? Great. I'm going to bring that thing you love in the presence of the thing that you're a little afraid of. That's how you change behavior. That's how you change the reaction to something new. So if you have a pup that's afraid or standing back, not willing to go explore that, they're in a stage of fright, they don't have the confidence in themselves to go check that thing out, then we have to go systematically a little bit slower. That usually means, what is the dog's motivator? Usually it's got to do with food or some kind of petting or some kind of toy. We're going to bring that presence in the sight, smell, or touch of the thing that they're afraid of at a distance where they can accept that. That's the key. So if your dog is afraid of other dogs, you're not going to bring another dog into your backyard. You're going to take a step back and say, how about that dog across the street? Can I give you some pets right here? Can I give you some loving right here? Can I give you some food right here? In the presence and the sight of another dog across the street. And you gradually, about 2 to 3 feet at a time, you get closer and closer to the thing that they're scared of. Does that answer your question, Laura? Right. So Laura, unmute yourself. What is your dog afraid of? And let's go over it with you, so you have your very, very clear.
Okay, so it can be anything in the house that I've moved. So I could have a lamp and it's always been on one table, but if I move furniture and I put the lamps in, it could be a jacket hanging in a different place than it normally hangs. As soon as I move something, then he'll stand and bark at it.
Okay.
So, and he's afraid of things.
Okay. And so guys, this is very, very typical. This is why, like in puppies, we tell you guys to change your way that your house looks, change furniture, put the chair upside down, put your pots and pans on the floor, because this is all new to a pup. They don't understand anything new. So what that means to me is that the pup hasn't been exposed. Your dog has not been exposed to things that are different. So at a distance where you're going to put your dog away, you're going to change things up. You're going to bring your dog in. And what I would do is called like the scavenger hunt, where they're having to explore. They're using their nose and they're like, oh, wow, that side of that is really scary, but oh my God, I smell something. Oh, what's that? And then they go into a little sniffari, we call it, where they're like, oh, but the smell of that steak is overwhelming. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to do it. Right. And they go into that, like, I mean, if you guys have ever done that before, I'm an athlete. I used to be an athlete. I'm not as athletic as I used to be, but like I would go into a race and I would be like, oh my God, I'm so nerding out right now. I do not want to do this, but oh my God, there's people here. Okay, I'm going to do it. So you need to get your puppy to kind of go into that mindset of, but this is so awesome. I smell the steak. Okay, I'm going in. Here we go. And then what happens is they go in and they find that little cool thing, but they're close by something that's new, and that becomes neutral. So create those experiences. So what I would do for you is just, I would create like little cups. I have these tiny little cups and I hide dogs' food and put it in the room where they're totally safe, where they've got everything down, and let them go with the idea of exploring. And then take those little bowls, little tiny bowls, and start to expand them out into the other parts of your house where things are scary.
Okay.
Go really slow. With an 8-month adolescent dog, what's going on is typically what I find is overload. They can smell miles away. They can smell things that and They can hear and smell things that you would never even imagine. And if is it a female, Laura?
It's a male.
Okay. So a male dog can typically feel it can smell a female dog in heat, or even a female dog. And what they're doing is like, oh my gosh, she's here. She's here. I can't even think. Right. So they go into this whole, as they go through sexual maturity, it's really, it's fun for me because it's odd, but it's real to them. So the puppy is really experiencing all these hormones, all the chemicals in the dog's body. It's real. So as a pet parent, we have to stand back and kind of give them a little grace.
Okay.
Right. So, one of the ways to get your dog to expend some of their energy is with physical exercise. Now, physical exercise can be broken up into a lot of parts. You want to find out what your dog was bred to do. So like an Aussie, a border collie, all those types of herding dogs, like prey drive dog, they like to hunt. They like to search, right? So you want to look up, you want to know a little bit about your breed. You want to know a lot about your breed, actually. And then you want to find, what was that dog bred to do? And you got to give your dog that outlet. Because if you don't give your dog that outlet, they're going to be a nuisance to you. Because no matter what you want, they're specifically bred to do something. So they've got to have that outlet, but you can create it. Even if you live in a small condo, you can create a digging outlet. You can create a search outlet, right? Dogs that have long noses, you can create that in your own home. So what you have here is a little game of hide and seek. Hide and seek is this dog is Jackie Daniels. She's an Aussie doodle. So she's bred to prey and hunt. But she's also just the most adorable little dog that came really, really afraid of a lot of things when I first got her. So we ended up exposing her to toys. And she's searching, right? So Curtis is out here doing a little game of peekaboo, like, hi, I'm over here. Come find me. And then he's tossing the treat because that's the reinforcement for her. She loves, the toy. She loves toys more than anything. So herding dogs typically like to chase something. So think of sexy squirrel. They'll go after a sexy squirrel, a bird, over you any time of the day. So Curtis is the sexy squirrel. He's that sexy bird. He's like, I'm more fun than anything. Human play is typically when you, as a pet parent, go, I'm here. So if you have another dog in your home, what you don't want to do is expose your puppy to that other dog as the number one thing. It's the puppy that you just now brought home needs to be imprinting on you so that you can say, hey, sit. And your dog goes, yes. If your puppy has exposure to another dog in the home, what's going to happen is they're going to look at that other dog and go, what did she say? Because I only listened to you. So if you've got multiple dogs in your house, they should be separated. And human play, like fetch, tug, all of the exposure, you've got to be the very first thing that your dog meets, sees, connects with. It all comes from you. Now, this is one of my clients. This is the 8-week-old puppy. He's being that sexy dog. He's being like, hey, I'm your buddy. This is another Aussie that we had here. Julie's being super fun. What does the dog do? What does the puppy do when you are the most fun thing? Is when given the choice between your neighbor's dog and you, they go, you're more dependable. You're more fun, right? Versus, oh, there's another dog. And every time I see a dog, I get so much cool play. No, guys, it's got to come from you first. If you want a dog that listens to you, it comes from you first. The other thing you want to teach your puppy is to be alone. They are not programmed. In fact, in the wild, when you see animals, and most animals, they all follow their mommy. And if they're behind, you see the little ducks going across the road. They make so much noise. Same with dogs. If you watch dogs, specifically once they're able to see and hear, and they can't find the breast milk, what they do is they start screaming. Woo, woo, woo. And the mom comes over and picks them up and brings them closer. Just think about that. Dog makes a noise. Mom comes over, picks them up and brings them closer. It is dangerous for a puppy to be out on their own and be too far away from their pack, especially in the wild. If you ever watch wild coyotes, they're right close by. I mean, all animals, cats, everything, they're all really close by. So the moment you bring your puppy home and you decide to go make a cup of coffee, not going to have it. That puppy's going to scream bloody murder. Do not leave me. So first 24 hours, I typically sleep with the puppy right next to me. I put my fingers in their crate. And what I'm saying, without saying anything, because they can't hear me, they don't understand anything I'm saying, is I saying, you're safe and I'm right here for you. Being alone is a gradual project, gradual. You do it gradually. And we do it in the first 24 hours. I will normally start teaching tiny bits and pieces. So here's, again, this is Bandit. Here's me coming from the kitchen. And I want to show you at 10 weeks old, this puppy's told, look at, he's got access to come find me. Look at that. Totally by himself in his default position, default area, away from my furniture, away from my dining room, saying, hey, what's up? Remember, he had access to me. The crate was, the X pen was open. So once you create that safe space, dogs always retract to what they know, even when they have access to the other part of the house. So to begin understanding how separation anxiety prevention works is, again, understanding that dogs do not want to be alone. So when you coddle them and you pet them and you love them and you say, oh, you're okay. It's okay to do at the beginning, but at the same time, you've got to teach the puppy right from the moment you bring them home, that it's okay to be alone. So, giving them something that is cool while you walk away is kind of the way that I do the training. So for this one right here, I dropped some food, but then I went into the bathroom. How many puppies go with you when you go to the bathroom? So put food down. This is when your dog is a little bit older and they can be there, and go to the bathroom. If your dog is following you, they're scared to be alone. Wherever you want them to be alone, that's where most of their feeding is all done. All of their play, all of their food, their bones, all the cool shit happens in the area that you want them to be okay with being alone in. So here is a drill that I normally do is I will give a puppy something that is a little bit heavy. So this is a frozen food. It's an interactive feeder. And this is a puppy she's 9 weeks here. She's eating her food while I walk away. So I gave her something, but I walked small. She could still see me, but she chose to eat her food. Puppies are going to do this. If you give them a bone and you walk away, they should stay put, but don't walk away out of sight. I'm talking 3, 4, 5, 6 feet and gradually go up from there. So dog gets something cool when you walk away. This teaches your puppy that being alone is not so scary. All right. Any questions on preventing separation distress or separation anxiety? As I also work with a lot of reactive dogs and dogs with separation distress. It is super scary. These dogs are destroying stainless steel. They're destroying furniture, destroying your couch, eating baseboards, just eating everything in sight when left alone, they're not happy. Nope, they're not comfortable. Typically, we see this in the adolescent to adult dog that hasn't been alone enough. All right. So any questions on that, just drop it in chat. All right, going into body language. So just here are some basic stress signals. So your dog is saying, hey, hello, I'm a little stressed out. Lip licking, what we call a shake off, a paw lift, stretching, looking away. This is a big one that a lot of pet parents don't look at. So you put something down and they look away and avoid it. They kind of, kind of like what you do when you first walk into a room. You're like, yeah, let me get on my phone and pretend that I'm not here. That's looking away. Pacing, sniffing, even scratching. Yeah, like I just gave you flea medication. Why are you scratching? Scratching sometimes is a stress signal. Big yawn, blinking a lot, lowering the tail, and sneezing. Now, these are calming signals. What that means is that the puppy's usually communicating. This is what comes with a dog. Now, dogs that haven't been around other dogs, they pick up on these stress signals and they'll normally back up, right? So when I'm reading body language in puppies and reading them in different dogs, and I'm saying, yeah, hold off a minute. Let's give this dog a second. I'm watching this whole thing. So when your dog is doing these things, these body signals, these calming signals, they're communicating. Now, this isn't something that they learn. This is something that they do. These are the things that we've picked up on reading body language. But what they're saying is, I'm stressed out. Give me a second, back up. So what you don't do is say, yeah, come on over, pet my dog. He's so cute. What you don't do is that, because what happens is your pup goes, I do not trust you at all anymore. I don't trust you. So any questions on body language? Okay. So here's a little bit about body language. So here's a lot of different puppies playing. We've got golden doodles, Aussie doodles, Australian labradoodles. We've got Aussies, labs, all playing. What puppy play should look like is a lot of going back and forth. So here we have a boxer. Then we have a Boston. The boxer is really confident in this little play session. It should be back and forth, 3 to 5 seconds of being on the bottom. Don't jump in there and save your dog, especially if they're working with puppies. Now, if your puppy's playing with an adult dog, you're going to have to be very, very careful, because most puppies are still learning body language, right? So floppy, mouth open, no like creases in their face, nothing flexed. Cool. But when your dog gets really tense and they start kind of like just being still and flexing, you can see all the muscles in their body, is when you want to be a little bit more, you want to kind of jump in. If your puppy's under 20 weeks old, you're going to have a dog that's shy, or you're going to have a dog that's been there, done that. Backing up, there's the yawn right there, right? There's the lip lick. You really want to see, there's the whale eyes, we call it, with the ears back. You want to let this happen. You want to let them kind of flow for about 2 to 5 minutes, and then treat to the nose, bring your dog out, give them a break. If your dog is the puppy that is avoiding everything, give them a minute. Give them a minute. They'll come around. Having play dates is really important to puppy socialization. If you want a dog that sees another dog and goes, oh yeah, I've seen you before, smush nose dog, big dogs, little dogs, like, you want to have about 1 to 2 play dates a week. Not much more than that, guys. The reason is, if you want a dog that goes through and goes on a walk with you and doesn't go oh my God, there's a dog. Let's stop and play. If you don't want that kind of dog, then you don't want to have too many play dates. Instead, take your dog and do things that are fun for your dog in the presence of other dogs. So some of the stress signals you're going to see right now is the moving of the lip, the bark, right? All that stuff that's going on with their mouth, the air bite, the bite, ears back, whale eyes. Those are all signals that your dog is about to blow. So it's really important to watch the body language. So typically in a play session, it's no more than about 4 pups. Let them all kind of go with it. And you want to have plenty of room and keep it short, 3 to 5 minutes at the most. Right. It's hard to do when you're in lockdown, but it's still happy. You know, you can make it happen if you need to. If you don't, what you do is called the ninja walk, where you expose your dog to other dogs in the neighborhood, but you just kind of walk on by. What your dog learns is, another dog, no big deal. Okay. So for my dog, Bentley, I did not want him to want to play. I did not want him to see another dog go, Mom, can I play? That's not what I wanted. So he didn't get a lot of play dates. So keep that in mind. If you don't want a dog that goes, Mom, Dad, there's a dog, let's play, then don't have so many play dates, but expose them definitely to other dogs. All right. Management. So here is the number one. If I say what is like the number one tip is set up management. It is the prevention of all problems. When you've got young puppies under 12 weeks, all you got to do is set everything up in place. Jen, you haven't gotten your dog. You get to set up management. Your dog will never, ever, ever do anything that you call a problem because you will have prevented it. You can prevent jumping, biting, food bowl aggression, pulling on leash, separation anxiety, stealing, and pottying by using management. So what is management? Management means a crate, an X pen, tethering baby gates, muzzles, closing your curtains, or crossing the street. So if I said, hey, you know, Laura, you've got an older dog. How old is your dog? Unmute yourself.
Well, I think 8. He was born in June. So 8 months, right?
He's 8 months.
9
Yeah.
months. Yeah, 8 months.
Okay. So does he jump on people?
He jumps, he steals.
Okay. Okay. So let's say that we're going to preventing is different than behavior modification. So I also work with adolescent dogs. We are fixing the problem. With puppies, we're just going to prevent it. So think about this. If you have your puppy always in an X-pen area, and when you walk up to the X-pen, you don't feed, you don't pet, you don't pick them up unless they're in a sit, they never learn to jump. Preventing. Now, if your dog is jumping, to fix the problem, you have to take a back step. You have to say, I have got 100% to prevent him from practicing that. So I actually have to put a Band-Aid on it and stop it immediately. So when it comes to jumping on other people that are coming in your home, let's say, I would use a leash. All right. Anytime someone comes over, I'm going to put my dog on leash. And you're going to create that distance. Please, don't say hi to my dog yet. Wait till he's in a sit, because that's my preferred behavior, right? So management is the key to preventing. Once the problem has occurred, the dog gets really good at practicing it, and then you're having to fix it. So prevention, behavior mod. 2 completely different things, but they kind of are the same in a sense of like how we use it. Okay. Any questions, Laura, about that? Do you want me to go over any of the behavior mod?
Yeah, because I do put him on a leash if somebody comes over.
Okay.
But he'll pull. He'll just, he does a lot of pulling. And then, I mean, he'll settle down a little bit, but he will not be completely calm.
But he never gets to be in the space of that person until there's a complete calm.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I would say to someone coming in your home is, hey, my dog is in training. Do me a favor. Just ignore him. What I'm going to have you do is you sit right there. I'm going to sit over here, and it's got to be about 10 feet away. And if 10 feet isn't enough, like I've been bitten several times, and it's typically because the pet parent doesn't tell me that the dog is not okay with new people coming in the home, and the dog comes charging over. So jumping, I've had someone fall down and crack their head because the dog jumped on them. So insurance guys, those of you guys live in the United States, especially California, it happens in a Sioux friendly state like mine. Be careful. So put your dog on leash, Laura.
Okay.
Put a little sign on the door that says, dog in training, text me when you're here. Unlock the door. And I've got a lot of training videos for this, but you would basically unlock the door. And when they text you, to say, hey, got my dog on leash, come on in, and you stay at a distance. And
Okay.
if you have to, work with the person that's coming in, your dog gets put away behind a gate, and guys, you know what? It escalates. So when, like, I'm listening to you, Laura, most likely if you put a dog behind the gate, they're going to jump on the gate. They're going to bark, right? They're going to do all these other things. You work on one thing at a time.
Okay.
You say, all right, in this training session, I'm going to work on not jumping. And then you can eventually, Laura, I would have you reward your dog for your dog not jumping. Every time you walk over to the leash or something, the gate, your dog isn't jumping, just sitting there or even standing, I would reward that.
Okay.
And then gradually you can eventually, how it would look in a training session is that you would hand, your guest some food, and sometimes we do toy play, whatever that looks like. And you would say, hey, do me a favor, come over and just stand by the gate where the dog is at. And when she's got 4 paws down, reward her down low. And then come and look at me, talk. When you look over and she's in a sit, reward that.
Okay.
So what you don't do is make eye contact and go, oh my God, your dog is so cute. Like, you don't go into that. Instead, it's all dialed down a notch.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So management with kids and dogs, a lot of time when you've got young kids, is sometimes they're not going to listen to you, specifically like 2, 3, 4-year-olds. They're not going to listen to most of you guys. So you've got to put management in place. So in the picture on the left is an 8-week-old puppy that's in a crate. Then I've got a 10.5-week-old puppy that's in an X pen. And I've got Bentley that's got full reign of the house because he understands when I cue him something, he's going to listen. So not only do you have to manage the kids and everyone else in the house, you also have to go, okay, this dog isn't able to hear me when I cue him to do something. You bring a puppy home and they're 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks old, and they don't know what go to your bed means. You're not going to sit there and yell it out while the kids are in the room. It's just, they don't get it yet. So you set up management, and that's just the way it is. If you don't want your puppy jumping on your 2-year-old, they don't get access to your 2-year-old. If your 2-year-old can't keep your fingers out of a 2-year-old dog that has a bite history, then you set up 2 X pens. But it's us pet parents that are responsible for making this happen. It's not the dog, guys. And it's not the kids either. So for those of you that said, oh, I got this dog for my kid, it's your responsibility, right? They're not able, just like, you got a 6-year-old that needs to go to soccer practice. Great. You signed them up for soccer. They still got to get there. You still got to get in your car and drive there. And you got to wash their clothes and make sure they've got their stuff packed. It comes back down on us as pet parents. So management is the fixing of everything. It is literally, this is what it takes. When someone says, I don't have any money for dog training, I'm like, great, put up management, because that in itself can train your pup. If your dog, like Laura, your dog is doing something you don't want, you're going to put management back in place. And then you're going to think to yourself, well, gosh, instead of jumping on everyone that walks in, what do I want to train my dog to do instead? Oh, great. Go to your bed, sit, stand there, right? There's so many things that you can train your dog to do instead. And then once your dog understands what that cue is that you're signaling to them in an environment with other people, you're good to go. You can remove management. But until then, for those of you that go, my dog keeps pottying in the living room. Well, then don't give them access to the living room. They don't know where their potty station is. So management is the very first step.
Okay.
So creating a safe space looks very different to every single person. So when I say create a safe space, what I'm telling you to say is what I'm instructing is, where do you want your dog to hang out in the long run? So I showed you guys a little video of my living room, my living spaces. I'm here in my so-called office. I've got 3 puppies over here. They're all in their safe space. They can be left alone. They can hang out. They've got their own water station, but creating this safe space is an X pen, a crate. It's where the dog feels comfortable in. It's a containment area. What you don't want to do is give a dog access to the entire house. They will make you upset. They will chew on your slippers. They will steal. They will go to the bathroom in the wrong spot because they've got access to it. Think about it. They came from the breeder. They came from the rescue. They had access to all these things. So you've got to bring it back in. All right. I like to use crates for my safe space because I have dogs that travel. So I crate train most of the puppies that I work with. And if I've had puppies from Korea that came over, and that wasn't, I couldn't do it. They had such a negative association with the crate. I couldn't do crate training. So I just used an expend area. And whatever that safe space is, you need to be consistent. You have to think long-term. If you want a dog that's going to travel with you, if you want to go hiking, if you want to go surfing, if you go surfing with your dog has to remain someplace while you go out in the water. They're definitely not going to go out in the water with you. If you go camping, same thing. If you've got an RV, most RV places, they're saying you got to, contain your dog, right? So if your dog ever goes to the vet, they're going to be in a crate. So creating that safe space right away allows you to travel, allows you to, be able to go to different places. So that safe space needs to be eventually portable. So if you are using an X pen, or if you're using a dog bed, or whatever that looks like, make sure that you eventually have in your mind, as far as training goes, visiting another place, another hotel or a friend's house or something like that. Whatever that safe space is, it's not a place to put your dog when you are punishing your pup. A safe space means that your dog is happy being alone in their area. And if your dog is crying, barking, screaming, biting, jumping on it and climbing over, they're not feeling safe in their space. That means you need to go back to the training process of, how do I create that safe space? Which typically means, so for me, I will feed all the puppies that I'm working with in their crate, because that's my number one goal, is to create a safe space right from the beginning. I want them to love their space. I'm taking whatever it is they love and I'm bringing into that safe space. So I'll bring that interactive feeder. All of their feeding is done by hand, by me, and also in their crate. And then when it comes to toy play, and I toss it into the crate. Everything, the crate games all become, but whether you're using an X pen or crate, it's all the same thing, is the dog has to love being in that space. That means I climb over to the crate and I sit down right next to it and I say, this is really cool. This shiny, really cool thing is awesome. You've got to create that excitement in the thing. All right. This is a struggle for a lot of people because a lot of people are like, I've got to use a crate. And then they don't go through the time it takes to create that association with fun. And here's the thing, no matter how old of a dog I get, whether they're 2, 3 years old and they've never been in a crate, I still go back to going, I've got to create a safe space. So you don't know sometimes what the dog has been exposed to. So you can change the dog's mind. If you're systematic about it, you can change the dog's mind about what's safe and what's not safe. The steps are getting down to the dog's level and bringing something in the area near the thing that your dog loves. So petting, food, toys in that space. And this is hard. This is where a lot of pet parents go, I give up. Dog's coming on bed with me, right? All right. So when it comes to how to teach your pup to go into their safe space, you want to get near the crate or whatever area that is. You want to bring your puppy into the crate. So that could be tossing food, that could be tossing the toy. You want to build duration. And then eventually you can close up that space. Oh, there is no video in here. You don't want to do is put your puppy in a crate and close the door and walk away. That's like a double whammy, but people do it all the time. So it's usually sit down on the floor. If you just brought your puppy home, you're literally sitting on the floor, crate door open and playing with the crate. Oh, look at this shiny, cool thing. Oh my gosh. And you're tossing food in there. You're playing with the, toys and stuff. And then you gradually close the door and you build duration. And then you start to walk away. But if you put your dog in a crate and you walk away and you wonder why they have a negative association, it's because they don't like to be left alone. And then you contain them in a small space. So if you've done that, no big deal. We get a lot of people that do that. And you just have to take a few steps back. Okay. So here are some of the basics. Very first time you're getting your puppy is, again, creating that safe space. You want your dog to be able to take food from your hand. And I can't tell you, I've got so many puppies that will not take food from people. They've just never done it before. So be patient. If you've got a puppy that's scared of taking food from your hand, you just place it right by them. You want them to see, here, look at this food, and you place it right next to them, and then you back up and you give them space, because when they're not approaching you, it's because they're scared. You want to back up and say, I recognize that I'm too close. And then you can gradually get closer. So one of the first things you want to do is that your puppy can take food from you, right from your hand. You want your dog to be able to touch their nose to your hand. You want your puppy to be okay with the management tools that you're using, whether it's a crate or an X-Pen or their space. And then you want to learn to capture the capture the behaviors you love. When your dog sits in front of you, you need to yes, you want to praise yourself and praise your puppy. You definitely want to capture those wanted behaviors. And what we call is loading the clicker or marker word is when it comes into training, you want to let your dog know in one way or another, oh, you just did it. And then here comes your reward. So we call it marker training, is that when I say this specific word or I give you this specific sound, the puppy learns, oh, I did it. And then they wait for whatever that reward is, whether it's food or petting or something like that. What that looks like, Laura, for you might be sit, good boy. And then you come over and you pet him, right? So that good boy is the marker word to let the puppy know, hey, here it comes, buddy. Just hang out for it. Right. So setting up for success, we're almost done, is basically set up management, establish a really amazing routine that you know that you've studied, you practiced, and it's good for you. Create the trust, and then use your dog's motivation. Every single dog is motivated differently. Some dogs don't love food. Some dogs love space. Some dogs love toys. Some dogs love petting. Whatever it is your job to figure out what that is, and then use that motivation and then reward the behaviors you like. All right. So what I'm going to do is just open this up for a Q&A. So if you have any specific questions, just kind of, you can raise your hand. You can, so any specific questions, let me know. I'll try to address them. And then when we're done, I'm going to send you a link to this recording and also how we can help. All right. Any questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My dog's a little older, like almost 5 months. Just started kind of barking at everything that moves in the backyard. Any tips to deal with that?
So the trigger is something in the backyard. Do you know specifically what the trigger is? So that's what we call the antecedent. There's a trigger. There's something in the backyard that is causing the behavior, the B of barking.
It could be anything, a bird, a squirrel, somebody walking 50 feet away behind a hedge, you know.
Okay. So if you want your dog to learn to not bark, specifically, you're going to want to, first of all, manage the access to the backyard. So we get this a lot out here, is if a dog has got access to the front window and they're like, "Ooh, there's a dog," and they start barking at the window and they start hitting the window, right? It's kind of the same thing, but we get that a lot. We get that a lot in the front yard. Backyard stuff is the dog is basically doing this. Here's what it looks like. Dog sees a squirrel, a person, a bird. They run out there barking, barking, barking. So the bird, the squirrel, the person is the trigger. The dog barks, and guess what the trigger does? It goes away. Same with the mailman. It goes away. You know what the dog does? The dog goes and celebrates and goes, "Oh my God, I did it." The consequence was that the dog barked and the thing went away. So the dog has already learned that their voice worked. So for management wise, you want to do is you want to give your dog less access to the backyard when you're not there. You don't want to open the door and let your dog go. What you want to do is put your dog back on a leash, go back to management, take your dog out there to go to the bathroom, manage the situation, take a look at everything. And then what we go back into the socialization, your dog needs to be exposed to birds and squirrels and people. And for your dog to go, no response is what you want. You don't want to have, what you have right now is a dog figuring, what kind of breed is it?
Aussie Doodle.
So, okay. So like Jackie Daniels goes after birds because she's caught a bird. She freaking did it. She went out there. She barked. The bird went up a little bit, not high enough. She jumped up, caught the bird. She freaking got victory, like gold medal right there. So she loves chasing birds. She learned that early on. And that's what your dog is doing. Your dog is going, so that's a prey drive. Aussies, think about it. Aussies, border collies, prey drive, right? They're like, you know, so that is magic to them, especially at 5 months old. So pet stores usually have birds that you can go and check out behind the glass window. That's one. Get her exposed to a lot. Get your dog exposed to birds where they're seeing them move and they're not reacting. They don't have access to them. Second is put your dog on leash when you go in the backyard for right now. And then take your dog over to a park where they get access to birds at a distance that they never get to catch. And then because your dog needs an outlet, they need to chase something and catch it. Go buy, write this down, a flirt pole. If you've got a herding breed like an Aussie Doodle or Border Collie, a dog that loves to chase, a flirt pole. It's about $8 to $15. And basically it looks like a fishing pole, but it's got a squirrel on the end or a bird. And you put it down and you move it around and the dog feels like they're chasing something and they get to finally catch it. Okay.
Flirt
Yeah.
pole.
Flirt pole, it's called. It's a stick with a string and a little squeaky squirrel attached. All right. And that's how you give your dog the outlet. So you want your dog to be fulfilled. Otherwise, they'll always want to go after things. So that's typically like, okay, first thing in the morning, I'm going to take you on leash to go to potty, come back, do a game of flirt pole. And then the birds don't mean that much to them because they've already caught that squirrel that morning. It's 2 to 3 minutes. They just need an outlet. Don't let your dog catch a bird or squirrel because that's hard to reverse. Yeah. And
Okay.
Jackie, by the way, is only 9 pounds. And she caught a bird when she was like 4 or 5 pounds old, like 4 or 5 pounds when she was young. So she's constantly chasing birds, but she's got a really strong recall. I can actually work with her off leash. Even I live on the beach. She'll go after and I'll call her. She'll come right back because her recall is more rewarding than the idea of trying to catch a bird. So it's going to take some practice, especially if you got an older pup, but definitely just understand what's going on in the head of a pup with like an Aussie Doodle. So great question. Great question. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I have a 7-month-old Boston Terrier, very
Mhm.
playful, very playful, can be playing and then just starts nipping or biting. What's the best way to kind of stop that behavior?
So the adolescent age, nipping and biting, sometimes all their adult teeth are in, or is they still going through that process?
We're still going through for sure.
Okay. So the nipping and biting is usually over arousal. So the play has gone a little too far. So they get into a little bit harder biting. What you want to do is be very calm about it and in your head going, get the fuck away from me. So what that looks like is put something, a barrier of some kind. Oh my God, if there's kids on here, I'm so sorry, but put a barrier of some kind between the puppy and you is what you're saying in your head. How you do it is you want to like, look at this toy. Good, go. You want to bring your dog into that space and then you want to put that X pen back in. So once your dog goes over threshold, once your dog has all those chemicals in their body, they're not thinking and they're just reacting.
Yeah.
So, and it's really common, especially in that adolescent stage, as they go overboard. It's kind of like, have you ever seen I had 2 boys. Oh my gosh. So they would start wrestling and next thing you know, I have a broken closet, right? Like something would break. It just goes overboard every single time. And that's that stage is they just go overboard. And what happens is the traits that the dog is usually bred to do that's internal all comes out. So what you're seeing is an over aroused dog. And so recognize it that when you should see it early on before it gets to the bite. What you see is a dog is like moving very, very like abruptly. And if you cue your dog to do anything, they're not listening. That's your big sign. Oh, yep, we're going a little overboard. Let's get that dog separated. And you want to recognize that before you expose your dog to another dog, because in that adolescent stage is where we see a lot of dog fights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have
So-
one other quick question.
Yeah.
The dog has pretty much the run of the downstairs. And if we don't, let's say he like got a shoe, was chewing on it, but we didn't catch him in the act, like we saw the shoe later, what's the best way to kind of discipline him that he did bad with that if we didn't catch him in the act?
You can't do it. They won't. Yeah,
Okay.
dogs are in the moment. So
Okay,
what
sorry.
I would say to you is I would go, gosh, dang it. And recognize that it's our responsibility. We left the shoe in the area where the dog thinks it's their spot. So
Yeah.
what we do is go, okay, family, we need to be more responsible. Number one. Number two, we can teach the dog to drop something. So you would go, okay, I'm going to work on drop. Drop is basically meaning when I say this cue, whatever in your mouth, you're going to drop it because I have something better for you. So you would go into a series of training that has to do with drop. Drop is like, I hear a squeaker, right? Is your dog?
Yeah, he's got a ball in his mouth right now.
Okay. So if you were to grab a toy or another food, a piece of food, and you put it up on top, what the dog does is they look up and they open their mouth, that thing drops on the ground. That moment is what you want to put on cue. And then you want to give the dog that. And while they're eating, you're going to come by and swoop the object that you want to take. What you don't want to do is take something from the dog while they've got it in their mouth. You want to make it feel like it's not a big deal. In your head, you can be panicking because they can't read your mind, but you're going to be like, okay, I got to work on drop. So,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Great question. So that goes back to creating that safe space wherever you want your dog to hang out in the X pen. That's their stuff. If you leave your slippers on the floor, that's not your dog's fault that they grabbed them. That's our fault. Right? I work on drop really early on with puppies before they're 10 weeks old because I know that that's really common. Right? But when a puppy puts one of my slippers in my mouth, I'm like, oh, I got to go work on drop. So it just means it's something you have to work on. No different than a 1-year-old child grabbing something. They always put it in their mouth. But great question. So the question was, do I discipline? And the answer is no, they don't understand discipline. The only thing that happens from you yelling and getting upset is the dog avoids you. So if your dog goes to the bathroom in the wrong spot, you don't say anything. You go, man, I wasn't there. Dang it. I did it wrong. Hey, what you don't do is yell at your puppy, because if you come in yelling or even having all this like negative emotion, your puppy goes, you're not safe. I'm going to avoid you next time you come into the room. Right. So great question. You know what? That has changed a long time ago. It was different. And now through science, they've discovered that dogs don't understand unless it's in the moment that's happening. So great question. All right. Any other questions before we jump off?
I have a quick question. This is Nicole. As far as potty training, we just got our puppy yesterday. We got a mini Aussie Doodle, and he's been doing great, but I'm also home to take him out like every 15 minutes. But is there any device or bells or anything that you would recommend over another as far as to just for them to ask to go out?
Yeah. Okay. So bell training, what that bell training is basically, your dog is signaling to you that I've got to go potty. That it means that you have to be in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And the bell ringing typically means the puppy's going to tell you, I want to go outside, not necessarily that I want to go to the bathroom. Just keep that in mind.
Right.
The bells are all different. So there's some, you can go look them up. There's some bells that you can attach to the door, to the X pen. And there's some that you can like screw on. That's all based on the size of the dog and what you want. I like teaching bell training for people that are home all day, but not necessarily for people that are gone. I'd rather just teach the dog to, get a stronger bladder. So let me ask you a couple questions. How big is your dog going to be?
About 15 to 20 pounds.
So small. Okay. And are you home all day?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So bell training would work really well. So for right now, I would just grab the, a bell from Amazon that goes around the door.
Yeah.
You want to go through the same door. And how bell training works, if you want to give you just a quick rundown, have you
Sure.
seen any videos? Do you kind of know?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
I have a ton of videos that are on bell training, but let me give you some of the basics.
Okay.
Every time the dog hears the sound of the bell, the door opens. So the very first part of training is ring the bell yourself, door opens, you go outside with your dog. That's the first step. That goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days.
Okay.
Then it's putting the bell on the ground so your dog's not afraid of it, because most dogs are afraid of anything brand new, especially when they're young. So you'll bring the bell on the floor, and your dog gets to explore the bell at their own level, own pace. And what you're going to do next is teach the dog to engage with the bell in any kind of way, whether it's their nose, their paw. And you're going to reward the dog for even coming close or touching the bell. That's step 2. And that comes after a few days of the first step. Step 3 is you hold the bell and the dog engages with the bell in any way. And instead of rewarding your dog with any kind of food, you're going to open the door and you're going to toss the food outside. That's step 3. And then you put the bell back on the door. And then you start that process of, do you need to go outside? Ring the bell. The reward is the door opens. Dog goes outside. They go potty and they're rewarded for going potty. So that's step 4. So I'm going to send you a video. Do you got it? Ooh, you're good.
No, but I would
Okay.
love a video. I would love
Okay.
a video.
I got a video for that.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. I love that for especially if you live in a very a condo or smaller place where you can hear the bell. It's a great way for your dog to cue. So my dog Bentley has been very mobile his whole life. What he does is he comes up to me and he looks at me. He sits, he stares at me, and then he looks at whatever area is where the door is. And that's his cue that I need to go to the bathroom. It's very subtle, but I've learned to read him. And that was his way of telling me, Mom, get up. I need to go pee.
So it's
So-
interesting right now. So again, it's his second day. He's 10 weeks old and he just loves going by the door and into the foyer. And I don't know if does he like to go outside to explore? Does he have to go to the bathroom? I want to take him out every chance I can
Yep.
get and not take him out when he's kind of asking to go out. He even sat in front of the door later this afternoon and was whining. So I wanted to bring him outside and do whatever it was to see what he wanted, if it was going to the bathroom. And honestly, 95% of the time that he does go by the door, he is actually going to the bathroom. There are
Okay.
a few
So
times that he's
Nicole-
been playing.
Nicole, I would say make sure that you leash him and that you always go to your potty station first, that a dog doesn't go out the door and go out and play. It's
Okay.
potty first. If he doesn't go potty, Nicole, he gets to come back inside the house.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Don't let your dog open the door and go out for a play session. No. It's door, potty, and then play. If you guys saw that routine. Yeah.
That
Great
makes sense.
Could I
information.
ask a question about, we're trying to teach her to walk on a leash and she seems to want to pull and walk in front. Any tips or videos you could recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I that's all I do is puppy training and dog training. So when it comes to when your dog is pulling, what do you do? What exactly do you do when your dog pulls?
I pulled back. So I'm trying to pull her, try to get her to come back towards me so she's not out in front. And so
Okay.
sometimes I'll even wind the leash around my hand, but it just becomes her pulling and me pulling in the opposite direction.
Okay, have you ever heard of red light, green light?
Yes.
Okay, great. So obviously your dog is vaccinated because you're already out walking. How old is your dog, Corrine?
She's 4.5 months.
Okay. Oh, just learning. Okay. So at that age, if they're pulling on leash, usually at that age, they're exploring the world. And for that reason, I'm going to give them a little bit more of a relaxed leash. So I would use for my younger dogs up to 20 weeks, I'm going to use a longer leash, about anywhere from 6 to 15 feet. And I'm going to let them explore and let them go out in front of me and let them go sniff. What I'm not going to do is teach them loose leash walking right away, because they have not been in your neighborhood a lot. They have not had the same amount of time to discover that the world is safe. So that what they're doing usually at that age is exploring. And so you want to say the world is safe at that point. And then you want to do small sessions of loose leash walking, which is typically done in your backyard, your house, of here is what you get if you walk right here. All of the cool, all the money, all of the food, all of it happens right here. And that's loose lead walking. And that's typically not taught at the very, very beginning when you're having a dog that's still trying to discover that the neighborhood is safe. These big bushes, these big flags, in people's homes. Those are all really crazy for a pup. They haven't, usually when they're coming from a rescue or breeder, they have not been around the neighborhood. They don't even know what cars are like, bicycles. I have skateboards and, surfers walking down. They don't know any of that stuff. Some of them have not been in a car yet. So longer,
Thank you.
yeah, longer leash. It's called a sniffari. It's called, like, what you're talking about is sniffari, is letting your dog explore the world, and then teach loose lead walking, which is, if you walk right here, I'm going to pay you. Very, very good question. And it's what we all want. Cool. Any other questions? All right. So what I'm going to do is send you guys just a recording of this, and then I will send you over. We do have, Canine Learning Academy has a puppy free program that you can kind of see some of the tutorial videos. And I'll send you that, as well as our puppy program. Our puppy program is a course where we go live every single week. We go over the instructions, you submit videos, and it's a class that's online. We also have puppy play dates if you're in the area. So I will send you over a little, some information on that. Take a look at it and see how we can support. We do have a puppy Facebook page where I go live with the puppies that I have here. I typically take 2 board and train puppies over, every single month. So you get to see how I raise them, what I do first thing in the morning. So I'll send you over that. It's a free Facebook group page for puppies specifically, but if you have an adolescent dog, you want to jump in there, absolutely. All right, guys. So drop it in the chat. Was this helpful? Was it all good? Let me know. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. All right, great job. Awesome. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and love those puppies. And if you have any problems or questions, please reach out. This is my specialty. This is what our specialty is. So let me know how I can support. All right. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye.